money to buy a company.
Come on, Adam. How could that possibly be? You need money for everything in this world, don't you?
Certainly seems that way sometimes, doesn't it? And that's probably the number one pushback we get from folks when we ask them if they've ever thought about or actually gone through and acquired another company. Well, I don't have a big pile of cash sitting back over here, Jack, so I can't go out and buy a company, right? That's one of our first things that we often hear people say.
That's right. That's the first thing they say, and it keeps them from doing. It keeps them really what it does is allow them to not do, because they don't have that big pile of cash.
Right.
And the battles we've been through and the experiences we've been through, and we'll touch on a few of these in the next couple of minutes, really just show that is so wrong. And there are so many ways for a small business owner defined as 1 to 25 employees to grow their company through a little acquisition. A little acquisition meaning a small company like themselves could even be bigger. But you don't need money to do this, and we can prove it and we can show it.
We've been through it a lot personally, but we've also been through a lot with clients of ours, and it's one of the things that we often talk to them about as far as ways to try to grow their company. You have people grinding it out day to day, trying to add one customer at a time. You know, what a great way to add a bunch of customers at once. What a great way to add some very good people to your organization. To be able to expand into some different products or services as you go out and acquire another company. But usually the tough part is knowing where to start. So that's the first pushback is often, hey, I have a big pile of cash sitting here that I can go out and acquire a company. Okay, so we'll push that aside. They'll have other excuses as far as what's kind of going on. Well, gee, I don't know what to do. I don't know how. It really comes down to often they aren't sure where to start.
They have no clue,
right.
and it's understandable. How many people have been coached by a process which requires little or no money, and basically encourage small business owners that this can be done. And you need, like anything that's good, you need knowledge. Luck's great, and I'll always take luck over everything else, but let's be realistic. You need to know how it's done. And we've helped many people do it.
All right, so I know our listening audience, Jack, there's still some people saying that we're full of it, right? So it's okay, let's take this whole money thing, let's erase that for good, right? So here's our question for you. What if they gave you the company? Just gave it to you.
Well, in my experience, that if some companies, and it's rare, I wouldn't take the product and the management, blah blah blah. But for the most part, I would take any company that gave me that company. Why wouldn't I?
Okay, well that takes the whole thing because you don't need a pile of cash at that point, right? So that excuse is gone. Don't need that pile of cash anymore because here it is. They're actually just going to give you the company.
So people will say, well, how in the world, why would somebody give me their company?
There's a lot of reasons why.
Well, the big thing is framing it right, all right? If you make an offer that is the equivalent of them giving you the company, that's giving you the company.
That's one example. There's a couple of things that happen. We have a couple of clients where this has happened to, Jack, right? So we had one a few years back. He was looking to acquire a machine shop. And he's looking around, and about 6 weeks into it, he had a guy that literally said, hey, I'll give you my company. Now, this guy was working for a company that had gone, the work had kind of slowed down a little bit. So when he had gotten his hours cut back at his job, he set up a little machine shop on the side. And after a couple of years, his job got busy again, to the point where he couldn't really service his side gig. And he didn't want to see it go away for a lot of silly reasons. It wasn't because he was making a bunch of money doing it. It was because it was his escape. He can go watch movies away from his wife. Have a little man cave at work. I kid you not.
That's right.
So that was the reason why he wanted to keep this thing going, right? He literally gave it to our client. They worked out a deal, basically a handshake, to where our client would pay him, I think it was $1,200 a month for a couple of years.
Just like a rent.
He gave it to him.
Right.
That's one simple example. We had another example of a client of ours who was growing through acquisition. He started to become known a little bit. That's what starts to happen if you start to acquire companies. You become a little bit of a player, right? Well, in this case, there was a health issue. The husband and wife had been working this business for 30 plus years, and I think they had 4 days of vacation, over the course of that 30 plus years, and the wife took ill. And the husband said, look, I'm done. I want to take care of her and be with her. Here, you take it. I don't care what you offer, just you take it. So because he knew it would be in good hands, and they're working on a deal for him to compensate him over time. But again, he's literally giving it to him. So stuff, and our client came back. He goes, "You guys talked to me about this, and I didn't quite believe it." And they said, "Now here it is." He's smiling. He goes, "Here it is, guys."
See, we still have skeptical people out there. Adam.
Right.
They don't believe
Even
those
clients
kind
of
of
ours,
things
right?
happen.
Yeah, right.
You just don't decide, hey, I'm going to go buy a company and get it for nothing and go out there and go do it. It's a process involved. You got to get yourself out there looking at small businesses, and there's processes to do that. And the sources to find these small businesses are right below your nose. I bought a company for nothing. It's a great story. We don't have time to get into a lot of the details, but I bought this from the IRS that was closing down this little company of 7 employees. And I bought it for $2,000 in cash. And the story is a terrific story. And it's the success of this company after I held it for a couple of years and turned it around was great. I've bought companies that have been in trouble that the banks have moved to take back, like somebody would on a foreclosed home. There are when you get out there and start to look for homes and deal with brokers and deal with Craigslist and deal with the business opportunity section, all of a sudden you find literally hundreds over the months. You find hundreds of opportunities that basically help you define what you're looking for, and more importantly, if you put offers out to these companies, it's absolutely surprising how many you can get. And the reason is that there's health issues. You have owners of businesses who thought they'd be able to hand it off to their kids, and they can't. The kids aren't interested. There's just a total disinterest. They can't get themselves all pumped up again and go another mile. There's many reasons that they will sell that company almost to the equivalent of giving it to you, as Adam said earlier.
And